Okay, in the previous video we took a look at this garden right here. Today, which actually is the same day, I'm going to move over here. This is October the 20th here in Zone 7, Western North Carolina. Last 3 nights have been down in the mid-30s. So we're going to look at this bed here. This is 6 foot wide, 40 foot long. I just put it in this spring. So not a lot, this wasn't a lot to see here during the summer, even as it takes perennials a little while to get started. Right here we have 3 Rose Sensation Salvia. I can't really say much about them. This is the best they've looked all summer. These were actually a $1 purchase from Lowe's. Right here we have a Prince Charming, ooh, a bloom. You don't see many blooms on my channel, at least not yet. This is a Prince Charming butterfly bush. It's supposed to get like 6 foot tall, which is kind of standard for a lot of butterfly bushes when you trim them back to a foot, foot and a half. And right here we have 3 foxgloves. I planted these from seed before the last frost this past spring. So if you're ever going to plant foxglove from seed, and it's a biennial to start with, so be aware it's going to take a while before you see much in the way of blooms on it. And this right here, which I've got numerous of these, is Crocosmia lucifer. I had some bulbs and seeds, which my seeds never came up. I ordered the bulbs and then the seeds came up, which I'm still glad I ordered the bulbs because I wouldn't have had nearly as nice a plants as what I have here. And these did bloom a little bit this year, and the hummingbirds just absolutely loved them. They didn't bloom nearly as long as I wanted them to, but anyhow, there you go. Moving on, right here we have a Giles Van Hees salvia. I guess that's a type of salvia, or Veronica one, I don't know which, or sage. It bloomed just one blush of blooms, and then when I deadheaded it, it just stayed like this and kind of spread a little bit this year. And here we have more turtle head. Here we have a Guara. And although the pollinators only go to this as a last resort, I saw a humming-bee on it. A humming-bee? What the heck is a humming-bee? They don't exist. I saw a honeybee on it just a short while ago, which has already left, and that was the first honeybee I've ever seen on it. So I'm going to say they will go to this as a last resort. Right here is a petite snow butterfly bush. It's supposed to get like 5 or 6 foot, so it's not all that petite really. Here we have Walker's Low catmint. I've seen some people with gorgeous Walker's Low catmint, and this has really just not showed me anything all year. I may have to put it in a different location. It's been fairly dry, and this is reasonably well drained soil, but it hasn't really done a whole lot. This is, we got a dried up bloom here to show you. It's a Mardi Gras Helenium, and it's really putting on a good rosette for next spring. It's strange. I fought the bees off of this thing at the garden center whenever I bought it. So I bring it home, plant it, and just almost nothing. They just don't pay much attention to it at all. But at the garden center they did. That's why I bought it. Moving on. And there are other varieties of Helenium that I think would do better pollination-wise. So I may try some of the other varieties next year. Right here is, believe it or not, the best of these plants I've got. This, I planted it from seed before the first frost this past spring, and it hasn't done a whole lot. It's Sightseeing Veronica. I knew it would not bloom this year, but I did figure it would get much larger than this. I actually have one of these, and it's supposed to be different colors whenever it does send up spikes and bloom. I don't know if it will get nearly as large as a normal blue speedwell Veronica, I just have my doubts just looking at this. But I'll show you whenever I do my grow room video, I'll show another plant from the same batch of seed. And I don't know if it's, at first I thought it was a mutant plant because it's really much smaller leaves and a much smaller plant than this. But I wound up reading that there is such a thing as a creeping Veronica. And I think what I thought was my mutant plant is really just a variety of creeping Veronica. But I will show you that whenever I show my grow room. And here's what I'm talking about. I went down to my grow room and I got this pot of sightseeing Veronica. Supposedly these are the same plant. They were planted out of the same packet of seed. And you can see the difference in size of them. Difference in the size of the leaves. The leaves actually are shaped. Okay, there's the leaves here on this one in the ground. That's the larger one. And then here's the leaves on the small one in the pot. So they actually are similar shaped leaves. It's just that one's bigger than the other, and it's just sort of a different growth habit. I think this is possibly the creeping Veronica rather than a sightseeing Veronica. Heck, it may all be creeping Veronica because it's all stayed pretty short this year. Anyway, but it's supposed to be sightseeing Veronica. We'll see what it does next spring. This is a Miss Molly butterfly bush right there. Right over there is another butterfly bush. I don't know what kind it is at the moment. It's probably one like I've already mentioned. Here is some more of the Hyperium higcoat that I've already showed in the main garden over across the way there. Now this is 3 plants right here. And I did, when this was growing in my grow room last winter, I did pinch it back a number of times. And that's why this is as low down as it is. I kind of expected it. It just can't quite hold itself up. Well, but we'll see how it does. I'm hoping it will get a little taller than that. It's actually a healthy, good-looking plant. Right over here is some the seed which I planted last spring. The seed said purple bee balm. I don't think it even said Monarda. It just said purple bee balm, which is not, a lot of bee balms and Monardas could be purple bee balm, I guess. I'm hoping it's Fistulosa, but all I know is the seed said purple bee balm. We'll see what it turns into next year whenever it blooms. I'll be able to identify it further then. And I meant to show this particular tree, and it is a tree. It's a Shoal Creek Vitex. I do have one over in the main garden that I showed on my inaugural video. It's kind of iffy in this area. Some people cut it all the way back on purpose. Sometimes it dies all the way back. Some people let it grow and it does all right, but we'll see how it does. Right there is a white obedient plant. It has the blossoms on it, which you can just kind of take your finger and move from one spot to another, and they'll kind of stay in place for a time before they wander back into orientation. Right here, this is not done as good as what I'd hoped. It was planted from, I don't know if you call them bulbs or corms or whatever, but it's reasonably healthy. So you can see it's a red yucca plant. Just thought I'd show it close up there. And it's another hummingbird plant. It'll shoot out big long stems. Of course, the base plant will get much bigger than this, and it'll shoot out big long stems and have red blooms, and the hummingbirds dearly love it, supposedly. Right here, where you can't see anything except a tag, so I can tell what the plants are. This is Meadow Blazing Star, Liatris linguistylis. Anyhow, the butterflies supposedly like this brand of Liatris much better than they do the Liatris spicata, which is the gay feathers is the typical name of the Liatris spicata. And I've got about 15 plants sort of mixed in here. They came basically as a bare root type plant. They had just a small stubble of green on it, which has since died out, which I'm pretty confident those will come back next spring. This, of course, like I was saying, this is zone 7. I did not know until I planted this. This is a zone 8 plant. This is Rosemary, blue Tuscan rosemary, zone 8 plant. I've already took cuttings off of it, so if this happens to die out, I should have starts of it next spring. We'll see how it does. It's supposed to really get large and attract all kinds of pollinators, so we'll see how it does. We have three more asters of some sort right here. Right here we have a Bloomerang Lilac, and when it came by mail order, you could tell that it had just finished blooming. It did not deadhead it or anything, and it did not rebloom. But you know, first year of plant, you kind of got to make allowances on stuff, don't you, Susie? Make allowances? Talk to us. Talk to us. I'm on the other side. You're not going to talk to us? Say something. Okay, she always says something. Right here, this nasty looking plant that has mildew or whatever there on it is like a Baby Joe Pye Weed, and it has maintained its dwarfness. It had some decent blooms on it this you know, like a couple months back, but not as good as what I was hoping for. Moving on, we have, so I wonder if I have any posts left. I wonder you don't scratch them all down. Here we have a magnolia. This is called Betty Magnolia. It's a dwarf magnolia, and I don't mind putting this tree here in the garden because it's a slow grower. I read that it was a slow grower, and it's proven to be even slower than I thought, but it's nice and healthy looking. Finally, it was twice this tall earlier in the year, and a squirrel, I'm going to blame it on the squirrel. I blame everything on the squirrels. A squirrel just gnawed it in half. It just trimmed it by half for me, so we'll see how it does. It's supposed to bloom in the spring, of course. Right here we have some kind of garden phlox. I'm losing my voice. I'm not used to talking this much. Some sort of garden phlox. It gets like 2 foot tall, has nice purple blooms, and it will rebloom quite a bit. In contrast to this one here, it's a pink one that is only half as tall and maybe 18 inches, and it blooms pink in the spring and don't bloom anymore. However, I gave away some of this to my sister-in-law, and she keeps it in a pot and puts Miracle Grow on it and babies it, and hers bloom off and on all summer. So a lot of times it's just the condition that your plant is in. So don't take anything anybody says as the gospel on how a plant's characteristics are, because if you change their environment, you're going to change the way they perform. Okay, moving on here. I don't have a lot more in this bed to show you. Now, this particular bed, I did put some of the steel edging around it, 8 foot sections. There comes my brother right now, right there. He's the one that gave me the little fiberglass coupling that I got around my sedum, my Autumn Joy sedum, and he can't find any more of it. Okay, moving on. I'm losing my train of thought. Moving on. Right here we have another biennial. Seems like I wind up with a lot of biennials. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but this is standing cypress. I started them from seed, and I was hoping, and I knew it was a biennial, I knew they wouldn't bloom this year, but I was really hoping that the rosettes, the base part of these plants, would be about 3 times larger than this. This is another hummingbird plant. Like I say, I do love the hummingbirds, even though I only have 2 a year, and I'm hoping for more, but the 2 a year, actually, it seems like you have more. a few hummingbirds can go a long ways because they come and eat just time after time after time and fight with each other. Even a mated pair seems to fight with each other. But this is the largest standing cypress I've got. I'm not sure exactly how big the main plant gets, but it'll send out a, you know, a foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, whatever spike with red blooms, and the hummingbirds supposedly just adore them. Okay, so this is my 6 foot wide, 40 foot long bed, which I put in this spring. I call it the Big Dig because it was just kind of a nightmare to put in. This is a old railroad bed here, and it was just, I mean, it was this hard whacker packed clay, and it is just a nightmare to get this thing dug out and installed. And I had drainage issues after that because what clay was left would not drain. I had to put a French drain in it, and, you know, dig a trench down right through there to a lower area, but it's in good shape now. And just about 15 feet offset from this garden bed is a Dwarf Red Buckeye that I planted this year. Probably can't even see it yet till I get a little closer. It had kind of a tough time this year. I had it in 2 other locations which had poor drainage. Even this location had poor drainage, and I had to improve the drainage. Had to dig this thing up twice and amend the soil because it was just staying too soggy, as clay soil will do sometimes. But you would not believe how much work I've done on this little 3 foot diameter patch of soil. But they lose their leaves in August, as early as August, which in this one lost its leaves a little earlier than that. So I'm hoping that it comes back and does well this spring. And this coming spring, it looks like it has some pretty good buds on it there. And I think these are live buds, they appear to be. So that's pretty much it for the second video here on the Pollinator Pye channel. First video was that garden over there at the house, and then this side garden here. And then I've got another video. I've got a couple of fairly large garden beds that I'm just starting out there, where you see that little white tent looking thing. It's not gonna do too good. Well, it's doing pretty good zooming in. Anyway, I've got 2 that I'm just starting out there, and I've got some not necessarily tender plants inside that hoop house, which I'll be showing in my next video. But they are hardy plants, but they're young hardy plants, and some of them are just marginal for this area. Let's say there are a couple of zone 8s in there, and this is a zone 7. So I thought I'd protect them for this winter inside my hoop house, and right to the, well, that's actually in the middle of one of the garden beds. You can't really tell it from here. So stay tuned for the next video.